along, but I thought, well...
My name's Caroline Poynton from Manchester Bury. I have just been watching one about this person.
Let's talk about
watch it and record it.
Let's talk about the protests down the road from me in Southampton last night. I was very tempted to go along, but I thought, well, better not. Better stay on the commenting side.
Facial recognition and everything being what it is.
Well, and having a slightly recognisable face.
Provocateurs and showing up and throwing. Like, I'm sure I saw people throwing Romans at the front of some of the crowds, which just seemed like provocation.
Some of that was a bit silly, but we get into that. So, I mean, first of all, if you are a massive shitlib and you are for some reason watching this stream, you may be wondering why were the people in Southampton protesting? And I can answer that question with, these are yesterday's newspapers. As you can see, no mention of two-tier policing, anti-white bias, Henry at all. Just nothing yesterday.
I will say it is very different today.
Funny enough, yes. Let's have a look at today. There we go. Every paper is now covering the story. So if you're wondering why, there we go, the iconic photo of the boy being arrested moments before he dies. So if you're wondering why people were protesting, well, that's your answer. Because the British state would love to have this covered up forever.
Yes.
If people didn't push back in any way. So yes, what's going on here? So this is an area I know quite well because look, basically the way Southampton works is you've got the university up here, and then is a sort of short walk down to Portswood, and Portswood is basically the cheapest bit of Southampton, and so that's where all the students lived. So I actually lived, where was it? About here. And the murder took place here, so it was just one street away. So I'm sort of rather familiar with this area. What I did do is I did watch most of the I watched pretty much all of the protest actually in real time. Let me just start this rolling because we're just going to talk. Oh dear, there we go. Do I max screen that, Samson? Does that come out clean? Good, that should be okay.
Yeah, when I get
so here we are down in Southampton town. This guy got here a bit early. There we go. There's the police building. Now people start trickling. So the police they've got a handful of them up there. Few more turning up. They know there's going to be a protest at 6. They clearly didn't quite realise what they were in for. They thought it was probably going to be something like this. For the rest of the evening. So there we are.
They clearly didn't realise there were going to be thousands and thousands of people.
Before 6. Crowd starts to grow a bit more, quite a bit more, and then it just becomes throngs, and it keeps on. Basically, it keeps on growing. The police really have no idea what they're up for. I mean, they actually start off. At the beginning, they're sort of holding their line at the bottom of the stairs, and as you can see, not very long in, they kind of push back to the stairs because of the sheer depth of bodies that have turned up for this thing. Thoughts on the protest before we dig into any of the interesting bits?
Well, I mean, this is to be expected. The only surprising thing is that it has taken. Obviously, we have the occasional. Southport was an example. There are times when the rage of the host population does reach boiling point and it needs to find some way of expressing itself. But we can only expect to see more and more of this intensified further if our elite class continues to force a sort of demographic experiment on those peoples of these islands, a sort of sociological
biological one way everybody can take
human nature.
Their argument.
Sooner or later, people are going to respond in this fashion, and particularly when you throw in the politicised two-tier nature of the case too. It is more or less everything that they told us George Floyd was times 100 as far as
with the advantage of actually being a real case.
Well, these people, what I'm trying to say is we do need this amount of people. In fact, we need a lot more like the amount because they.
This is a sort of slam dunk case of
we need a lot more people than what is here. We're going to need the amount that was at Tommy Robinson's rally.
And probably more to the actual cause of Henry Novak's death.
I'm going to say there's probably more to do, a lot to do with what I'm saying.
Checkered past that we have to dig into.
Exactly.
He was just a good kid who was going to university.
I mean, to put it this way, he never held a loaded gun to a pregnant woman's stomach.
But crucially as well, even if people do think that Derek Chauvin killed George Floyd either through manslaughter or murder, no one actually ever, not even the prosecution in the George Floyd case, ever sought to establish any kind of racist motive. They never.
That's always something
that's something that's always forgotten. Whereas in this case, because the police as an institution, all police forces as an institution, but it seems Hampshire police as well, are so marinated in sort of anti-racist TM ideology, they see their own institution as already being compromised and
Nobody's
checked
asking
by
why
the
is this
person of
happening?
Stephen Norris.
Why is
So
this
they,
being
rather
happening?
than being
Who has
about
done
it,
this
they-
to the
they see it
police?
as their way
What?
to be sort of active.
Why? I'll tell you what and why, and nobody's speaking about this person yet. King fucking Charles. He's the one that's gone to Turkey, got his religion changed to Islam, and I don't know why he's been to Turkey, because I thought Turkey wasn't an Islam country. But anyway, he's got his religion changed to Islam, and in 1993, he spits it in some sort of thing and says we're not allowed and we're not to criticise, the West is not to criticise extreme Islamists.
They could use the magic words.
Yeah, they could use the voodoo hex curse to get away with it. Now, thankfully, this time, it's in the long run, it's failed. As a scumbag who stabbed Henry Novak to death has been put away for life, 21 years minimum, I think, is the reporting that I've seen. But the fact that they thought...
bear in mind, with 21 years, he could get
not
out when he's younger than I am now.
Death penalty.
That's still a tragedy, yes. But still, he's not been given a suspended sentence. There's no talk of removing certain sentencing or whatever. But it's also, if you read a Millennial Woes Substack article on it, which is probably the most detailed breakdown that I've seen, the way it's described that in the time after he's been stabbed and the family shows up, that they go out of their way to hold him down, prevent him from seeking any help, make sure he doesn't have access to a phone. They don't phone an ambulance. They just immediately say, it doesn't matter if my son's telling the truth or not, we're going to stick by him no matter what, and think that they can get away with it. And that boy's last moments on earth were one being really abused by the police
King Charles, because he's the
who
king
stood
of the
around
faith.
talking in a foreign language,
Well,
conspiring
he's
against
not
him.
king of the
That's
faith, he says the
tragedy,
kings of
that's
the
horrifying.
faiths.
And
He's
people
more for
are
Islam
very,
and
very
extreme
aware of
Islam
that.
than he is for his own people.
So to your point about
Sorry, there's no point people getting angry and doing all this to the country. The country's already fucked, we don't need any more. And we also don't want to give fucking jihad more reason to come and start chopping English white people.
In Hampshire police as well. None of the ones that I've recognised from this video, but they tell me that they are told pretty much daily, don't be racist. That it is absolutely drumbeat.
Well, we're not going to be racist when we're going to chop King Charles's head off. How is that being racist?
Not murders, not rapes, not solving crime,
it's not murder.
not keeping people safe.
It's in the Bible, so therefore,
and the guys
it's
who've been
treason the country. It's treason, he's handed us over to Islam. So therefore, the people have a right to take King Charles and chop his head off.
They're talking a whole bunch of other people.
And the kings have had their heads chopped off before in the past.
We've got a good
by
almost
the
an hour
people.
of talking. Tommy is the last speaker who comes up around about here. He gives a speech punchier than he normally gives, actually. And as you can see, the police they have no idea what the police. They had no idea what they were walking into with this. They thought it was going to be a minor protest. Now, you're probably going to be hearing in the next few days about how everybody here is just a far-right thug and a racist. For most of this, for the first 5-6 hours of this video, the crowd could have rolled over the police at any time they wanted to. They easily had the numbers. They didn't do that. So anyway, Tommy stands up and he gives a speech in all of this. And he ends it with, okay, well, we've set up it, let's walk away now. Let's walk down to Portswood, because this is more the southern end of Southampton. Let me just turn the sound on a bit, or maybe we catch the bit where you see John in that crowd as well. John was there, yeah.
I don't live near Southampton, I'm in Bury, I've got struggling a lot. Yeah.
Okay, I think that was just after he said, right, let's move on. Unfortunately, as the crowd was starting to dissipate, suddenly the police found their courage, and that was when they started trying to push people down the stairs. So as people are starting to leave, you see suddenly they're trying to shove people down the stairs now. They suddenly found their stones, and this was the time they were gonna because those are steps there. They decided they were going to start pushing people down the stairs, which is
try and push past them into the police station.
Doesn't look like it.
No, they're all leaving. This is just after they said they're leaving, and the crowd is starting to move off. And as you can see, they're trying to get out. They're trying to leave.
This just sounds like the crowd bulged a little bit as everybody started to move away, and the police just went right. That's not a signal.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they could have just stepped back and let them go, but no. This happened numerous times with this. So anyway, then they got a bit of a walk. It is a bit of a walk to get down from Sutton, because Southampton is a slightly weirdly laid out city. They've got to then walk up to Portswood here. So there's a bit of a chat, a bit of a walk. So there's a bit of time that goes by until they eventually get down to Portswood. They get into Portswood, walk through that, and they arrive at the location of this is the murder house just down that road on the right-hand side. And the police form the line here. The reason the police form the line here because one of those houses down there. I wouldn't normally say locations like this, but it's everywhere, so everybody already knows. The locations of these things. Everybody in Southampton knows this already. Down there is the houses of the Digwas, where they were, and so the police formed the line here because God forbid the Digwa family were to get a broken window or anything like that. So they turn out in force. By the way, this UK sploosh was great for this. There's a live stream on it covering the whole thing, and let me see.
And they're taking the knee.
Yeah, this was a constant theme in it. The crowd, when it was still thin like this, they kept on sort of saying, well, look, you took a knee for George Floyd, you're going to take a knee for Henry.
It's a clever move, that. And it's extraordinary the extent to which this has become salient. Just coming in here, coming into Swindon now, had a bit of train trouble. I was waiting outside train stations quite a lot, and the number of people, just ordinary people going about their day-to-day work, tradesmen types, who were talking about this, and not just talking about it as a disgrace unto itself, which it is, but exposing the contrast between how our sort of elite institutions and indeed our leaders reacted to basically a serial criminal in the form of George Floyd.
Yes. And he was a US citizen.
He was a US citizen in Minneapolis, overdosing on fentanyl in all likelihood, as compared to this, which is a slam dunk case of police negligence combined with obviously murder, now convicted murder. This is a clever move on the part of the protesters.
Yeah, I mean, spoiler alert. Obviously, the police did not take a knee because it would have been career suicide for any of them to take a knee.
And again. It is racially motivated murder. He thought he could get away with it because he thought he could kill a white guy and claim racism. Yeah, that's what it is. If it wasn't for the institutional setup of the police, the fact that these people know or at least think for the most part that they can get away with it, he maybe would have thought twice about doing it in the first place if we weren't living in the culture that we are today.
And this is other thing I will say. There are all of these sort of pious claims being made. I think a Sikh MP within the House of Commons tried to make it the other day, attacking Rupert Lowe, attacking Farage, attacking more or less everyone on the right of British politics for politicising this issue. No, it was already political. We found it that way. We are not the ones politicising it. We found it political.
The Sikh MP that you're referring to, he put out a tweet this morning saying, look, they're coming for the Sikhs now, they'll be coming for you next. And I had to reply to him and said, they've been coming for me for 20 years.
Yeah, at least.
So, sort of, I'm not wildly sympathetic. I mean, I'll just show here the sort of the site. I mean, So this is the murder
house where.
So let me just frame this. So to the left is where the police line was a moment ago, and Henry had clearly run down this street and tried to go in here, tried to climb over that fence, being stabbed as he climbed over that fence.
In his legs.
Yeah.
In his legs.
So he was halfway over that fence when he got stabbed.
Which was filmed.
Yes.
While it was happening.
And he was being mocked.
You don't have that footage.
Well, that was withheld from the trial because it was too disturbing.
Yep.
And there was also footage filmed while he was dying that the Digwa had filmed, presumably to torture him.
Yes, exactly.
Where's his camera phone? Yeah.
And huge crowd at this point. I mean, it's that previous area we saw was completely full up, and this area is starting to fill up as well.
So is that where it's happening
continuously,
there?
you can see the police, more vans are arriving. So I reckon half of Hampshire Constabulary put their phones on airplane mode last night, so they wouldn't get called up to come down to this.
And clearly largely spontaneous as well. People may remember that after Southport there was a sort of state-led effort to present the protests that erupted afterwards as in fact artificial. It was sort of people who were already prejudiced going into these communities in order to cause trouble, and then a later report actually shot that down. It's curious that it's telling in a way that they haven't tried to trot out that line again, but clearly this is just spontaneous outrage on the part of decent people living in that community who feel who feel this sort of harrowing event very, very acutely.
It is. Now, you'll notice that everything has been very calm so far. Apart from the police trying to push those people down the stairs, everything has been, perfectly reasonable at this point. I've brought your attention to. So this is an adjacent road going down it. Yes, there was a murder house there, but nobody's touching it. It's just a memorial outside, some flowers and stuff. This is a kind of overflow road. The police, in their baffling series of unwise decisions, decided to dispatch a group of riot police to come down this road from the opposite side. There's no reason for them to do that. There is another road, a main road that goes behind those houses that joined up with the main police point, where they could have avoided all of this. But they decided they're going to come in and they're going to have a bit of a slap. They're gonna knock some white lads around the house, give them a good shove, a lot of pushing and shoving. At which point the crowd, gets a bit riled up with this, and they start throwing wheelie bins. Now, if your left is concerned about what you're seeing here, don't worry, those are actually ceremonial wheelie bins. And the British people are allowed to carry a wheelie bin of up to 120 litres on their person at all times for ceremonial reasons. So there we go.
Yeah.
And we then get this sort of slightly comical scene of the riot police who came in to have a bit of a slap. Basically, again, not realising what they were walking into and getting literally run off.
Ha! In a way.
Like a
they deserve it. They're working for freedom,
fucking
fucking diversity of King
we're not
Charles.
going to get away with pushing people around here, and so they hastily retreat back to the main police line.
I mean, they're retreating here for obvious pragmatic reasons, because they were clearly expecting some kind of trouble. They're kind of they're in full riot gear.
It's
telling when you compare
area,
that to what happened in Hare Hills about 2
where
years ago.
Now.
Police fled.
That's a Muslim area.
Again, for pragmatic reasons, because they were outnumbered, and fair enough. But they didn't even bother showing up in riot gear.
Because it can.
This is very notable. And also, of course,
if I'm not mistaken, my memory may be failing.
The youth takeovers of just a few weeks ago in Croydon or whatever it was.
Yes.
No riot gear there, no riot gear for BLM.
No.
But they turn up in riot gear, and they don't take the knee, and they go in with the pushing and shoving. So they basically start with a crowd which is pretty passive, and they G them up with a bit of the violence.
Certainly how it
to
looks.
get a reaction.
Yeah, that's the police fault. They do it on purpose, mate. King Charles.
This
is what we're going to be angry about. That's the person we need to go and take the angle out
every time the crowd settles down,
is him.
They do
changing
something
his religion.
to rile them back up again.
Fucking Turkey,
Do
lying.
you know
And he's
rather
not
depressing
offender of our
signals that
faith.
makes
He's
it,
not offender of Christian
a
faith.
bit
Where is
more,
he? King Charles, I'm saying
obvious that this is more organic.
or a
A lack
prayer
of foreign
for what's
flags
happened.
held by all of the protesters.
Yes.
to one of his people.
Yes, there were some British flags. So there we go. We're going to be coming up on the murder house in a minute, and then they're going to
Charles should be the one
rejoin
that's
the
coming
main
out
police
saying he's
line.
offender of our faith, meant
having
to be
started
Christian.
something,
And as being a
they're
Christian,
not getting
he
pelted
should,
with things,
and the Church of England has
the
to be in the
locals are
Church of
coming out,
England and the Christian Church of England.
to give
Don't
them
you
a piece
think
of their
King
mind
Charles
as
has
well.
obligation? It's the
Later on,
king.
you see the
So
locals coming
fucking
out
come out.
to have a look at what's going on. So there's all of that.
And
so
then
like I say,
he meant to did that thing about Pakistan, and he didn't do nothing. I knew he wouldn't do
this is sort of a
anything.
tactical weapon.
I knew King Charles would do
ignore
nothing
that,
to
but
get
that
Stan
is
out
not
in the
actually
first
the
place.
case.
Because you know why? Because King Charles is
Yeah,
involved.
again, to my
He's
point
the one that's
about
caused it.
everything. Every time things started to settle down a bit, police will go in.
1993. He
I
told
think this
everybody
is the bit where
that we can't
yeah.
criticise
See,
extreme
basically settled down,
Islam
so
because we
in they
owe
go.
them a cultural debt.
rile the crowd
And we
up a
need
bit.
to practice, we need to take a leaf
Lots
out
of
of the
this.
Islam book
Honestly,
because their culture
Maybe
is
I'm missing
better than
something,
the
but what
Christian
possible law
culture,
and order purpose
according
does
to
that sort
King
of
Charles.
10-yard march, like aggressive 10-yard march forward serve?
Well, it triggers the action.
What is their sort of disinterested defence of that little charge they just did there?
Why was
Well,
it doing
you can't push a narrative of far right lunatics unless you and the things and it did get a reaction, and people would then start throwing things. So it got into exactly the narrative they wanted.
Yeah,
because you
they did it
start
on
doing stuff like
purpose.
this, and then you start getting. I mean, at one point, a plant pot from presumably a nearby house comes flying.
Well, that's what I'm trying to
But
say.
then
There's no
pushing
point
the
in anybody
narrative, well,
doing it.
11
That's what
police
they try to
officers
say,
were
mate.
injured. It's like, well,
Then we need to disperse
Yeah,
this
I
from the
remember the
police
BBC
stations
reporting
in the
that
streets.
27 police officers were injured during the BLM riots in the summer of
And we need to get
2020, but in the
King
headline they
Charles,
mentioned
Buckingham
say
Palace,
27
mate.
police officers
We need
injured
to
in largely
ram-raid
peaceful protests.
Buckingham Palace and
Right.
get him
I
out
don't
of
think
there.
the qualification is going to be added here. And the bizarre thing is, it would have been peaceful.
And we do
I
need
think,
very,
if
very
there wasn't
clever
a lot of
people
the
to
agitation
be able
that came
to
with
get
it.
what I call
don't
like
understand, like,
soldier
too
men
much
and
of a
things
schoolmarm,
to
but
be able
we
to
should
climb
say
over
that,
things to get people in.
Lord Hermer is rubbing his hands together
Yeah,
right now.
laughing.
People, it's rare that I quote Lenin approvingly, but he did once say that in any field of human endeavour,
What we're
you
doing
should have
is
your heart on
jihad,
fire,
getting
but
Red
your brain
Dead
on
in
ice.
Italy
It's very
to start
important for
chopping the
people to remain
Pope's head
level-headed
off.
during this. I don't want to sound like too much
Now,
of a
unless
schoolmarm,
we get
because,
there first and
clearly
chop
it is
King
the
Charles's
conditions
head
that
off,
the
they will be
police and
chopping
our
all of
politicians are
our
creating
heads
that are
off.
the problem, rather that these
And
are
this is what's
at best
needed.
sort of second,
King
third
Charles
order
happened,
symptoms,
he's
but
then
it
chopping
is
off
in
by
your
the
own
people.
interest and in the interest of us as a people to be as level-headed in these situations as possible, or you're just giving ammunition to people like Lord Hermer, who is gleefully signing off your public order prosecutions as we speak, I'm sure.
Yes, and of course they got the facial recognition out, but they don't even need the facial recognition out because so many people were filming this live, and people didn't cover their face because, as far as these people are concerned, they got nothing.
And what I'm going to say, this is another thing I'm going to say. When we go to King Charles Buckingham Palace, everybody needs to cover up.
Now go around and arrest loads of people. and
Women need
fast track them through
burqas.
the
We're all
courts and
I'm going to
that
get a
kind of stuff.
burqa. I'm going to get a
The
hair.
amount of money they spent on
I'm
this,
also
never
going to be
would they
getting
ever
what you
spend
call face
defending
paint for
Dick
clown
was home.
paint.
You
We're
can
going
see
to paint
the
our
amount of money
faces
they've got
white.
these
We all
helicopter
need to
running
look
bubbles
like
as well.
clowns.
They would never spend that amount
They
of money
need
on
to
defending
paint
victims
their
during
fucking
games.
faces
Is
like
there
clowns.
any indication that these protesters intended
They all need to dress up as a
being
clown.
vigilantes outside of the...
So you can't tell who anybody
Well,
is.
they walked down to Portsmouth and the police
Just
had
like
clearly
they
decided
do.
in advance that they were going to clear out this road, and none of those lights in those houses come on, so they'd probably
Let's
cleared
take
out
a
the
few
road,
juggles and a
hotels
few
or
fire
whatever.
I
juggles.
understand you've got 6 hours worth of footage here, so...
We'll pretend
yeah,
that we're in the,
maybe
at
this
the
is what
fucking
it could be this
circus.
room, but I've
We
seen,
are.
no, so far I've seen nothing of the protesters trying to breach the police lines.
So, there is when. So when it started, it was, a lot of people taking the knee and that kind of stuff. Police were getting a bit belligerent, and then what started happening is people started throwing stuff.
Also, I've got to say as well, this all seems like a rather extravagant defence to ensure that there isn't too much uproar after a delivery driver murders someone. Is it really worth it having the extra delivery drivers in the country with all this extra expense and trouble that comes with it?
Yeah, as opposed to walking to the takeaway yourself
So-
or
Or
something.
cooking it yourself because they can't cook it.
It's
Spitting in it.
Anyway,
Who wants
escalation keeps happening.
one of these delivery drivers spitting in your
it
food?
has the desired effect. It
'Cause you're
winds
English.
up the people in the
Right,
crowd
so he wants to eat halal meat.
tend to be a bit unwise. And look, I'm not
Everything out of Deliveroo is halal.
I'm not up for
I'm not being
throwing
funny.
things at the police, but that is the reaction that then started to happen.
The reaction
and as
from
it
the
started to
police
get
is
dark,
because they've got King Charles.
You then did get
They're owned by the
unfortunate
fucking
element of
monarchy.
people, that's a much bigger bin. That is not a ceremonial bin. It's too large. That one. That's technically illegal. And then
That's technically,
plant
can you
pots
use
and
one of them
bottles
though?
and
Put
all
yourself
the rest
in
of
if
it,
you were
and the
homeless.
half
Put yourself
house
in it.
brick, started coming over
And make
as
it
well.
have your
The
make
police
it my home.
defence,
In fact,
so
I have
we're
seen
higher
someone
up on this road.
actually with one of these big
And
wheelie
then
big
they
things,
sort
actually
of
making
retreated
like
to
a
this as
home
the crowd
out
was
of it.
simply too large.
Actually
But
making a
they are
home
not going to go
out
any
of a
further back
wheelie.
than that because just behind that is
So
Timber's
we
house.
can't have a
And we're
wheelie
going to
bit.
defend that at all costs. Everybody else's house.
It's not a
around
dagger
here,
or a
you know,
knife
we've
anyway,
got
is it?
pots.
Sounds exactly
And
like
then-
someone's going to
and
get
their fence panels
squashed.
broken,
Well,
but
I
by
don't know
God, they're not
what's in
going
the
to let
wheelie
a
bit.
single thing happen to the Digwear house.
Maybe we should have
One
put
of
the
the
police
problems
in
with a
it.
situation like this is especially when it starts to go dark.
Because they work
There've
for the
already
fucking
been a few
government.
altercations. We saw people hanging around by the fences,
For being
sticking their
chaff.
heads over and throwing stuff at the
There you
cops.
go.
If a bunch of just delinquents with nothing to do with the protest in the first place, there's a bit of a scuffle going on with the police and want to join in the fun, they're just gonna jump in and get in with the rest of the crowd anyway, and if they start to escalate things, the rest of the crowd and the rest of the protest is going to get blamed for.
Are you 10?
And you know, I'm sure there'll be a few
10:30.
conspiracy
Alright, okay.
theorists in the comments saying, "What about undercover police?"
You miss
I'm
me.
doing a bit of that as well.
I wouldn't feel well last
I'm
night.
certain there must have been some in the crowd.
Who knows?
Oh,
What would the reason be to not?
Certainly not beneath the British state at this point,
Bye,
given,
bye,
given the
bye,
evidence,
bye.
given what we have on record that the
Yeah.
British state has done.
Yes, so many really being going in. So this whole, so they've been pushed right back to near where Digwe's house is, defending that at all costs. As you can see now, loads of things have been thrown at this point. I mean,
So that's where near where he lives,
it
then,
has
is it?
got
So it's a
very
Muslim
unfortunately,
area
like
where they are there.
protests
That's why they
need to
try and
happen
protect
because
it,
otherwise
yeah.
the British state will just simply continue with the destruction of the English people forever.
Yeah.
So you do need to raise up, but it is unfortunate that it's come to this point. And it's unfortunate the series of actions that the Hampshire police took to agitate things a number of times.
And it's going to carry on
And
forever
then
if we don't
eventually they
get to
got
the down to the
their
bottom
public
of it.
order
And get the person
charging.
that created it
you
in
know,
the
they did
first
the
place,
Riot
which is
Act.
King Charles.
And that's when they've got full
Sorry.
powers to do stuff. So it sort of eventually sort of
And I
accumulates
had a
here.
conversation
I
with
think
someone
this
who's
is
very
them,
about this when I was in a line. Wait for it
shouting
to
out if
release.
this is
In Berry Market, and they
I
didn't
think
seem to
we've
know
got
that
right
King
bit.
Charles
This
had
is
changed his religion.
no. Sorry, one
Well,
more.
one of these
Could not
people
possibly
fucking
be more
watching.
predictable though. I mean, people
Watching
instinctively do not
ITV.
like being replaced, and still less do they like being treated effectively, which they are treated by our institutions as second-class citizens relative to those replacements. One is bad enough, both together.
Well, and people have tried voting against this for 50 years and been rug pulled every single time.
That's right.
So, you know,
50
you
years,
can say
yeah.
to people, oh, why are you kicking up any fuss about this stuff? It's like, well, we tried to tell you through the ballot box for 50 years and you did nothing.
So it was before King
this
Charles
is
in
the
a way,
point where,
but he's the one that's been
when it is
leading this
the
so
Public
far.
Order Act or the
Since
Riot Act has
93.
been read
He's
out.
the one that's
And
fucking meant to
they've
be the
now
Church
got
of
full
England.
powers to
He's the one that's
basically
meant to come out and fucking
beat
say a
anyone that
prayer
they get their hands on and
for
throw them
Henry,
back
at
around. So
least
this is
come
when
and
they
say
become
a
much more
prayer.
aggressive. This is what the police like to do. They wait
Oh
until it's thinned down.
no,
Lots
King
of
Charles
crowd
don't have
gone.
time
They're going to
for
charge. Now, what they
English
normally
people.
do is they
But he's got
box
time
you
for
in
fucking
from
Ramadan and
four
Eid.
sides, then they read the Public Order Act,
Right.
And time
and
to say
then they advance.
diversity.
So basically, they say if you don't clear out of this area now, you're going to be arrested. But make sure they've already kettled you, so
Yeah.
that then when they advance, they can then just beat and
Beat
arrest
up.
every single person they get their hands on. That because they didn't understand what they were up against with this protest, they weren't able to kettle these people. The crowd was simply too large, and so they just managed to advance, but they couldn't kettle people, and they probably didn't arrest many people. But
Good.
no doubt they're going to be going through
The list. And this is what I'm
many,
saying.
many intelligence
This is
officers
why
and
we
the
need
police
to get
now will
more
be spending
cleverer
their
than that.
time
We have to get clever.
analysing this frame by
And,
frame and the various other
like I
videos
said, we have to
and
get
then be arresting
clever
as many people as
to
they
do what
can
I'm saying.
because the British state's
It is
response
going
to
to be
the
a
Hampshire
very
police cocking up an
difficult
arrest
thing
will be to
because
arrest
trying to
as
get
many
through
people in the
Buckingham
Hampshire
Palace
police as
is
they
not
possibly
going to be
can.
an easy task. Do you think
Thousands
trying
of
to get
people
through Buckingham
have
Palace is
gathered
going to
or
be easy to
gathering
get the
in
king out? Drag
Southampton
him out.
tonight after body
People
camera
dragging him
footage
out.
was released of Henry Novak's
I
final
don't
moments.
care. How
Protesters
old
clashed
he is,
with
he's
officers
done what he's
amid
done,
massive
and in the
anger
Bible
at
it's
Hampshire's
death.
police handling of the case.
And we will be doing, we need to do to King Charles exactly what's happened to Novak. And tie his hands up and chop his fucking head off. I'm sorry to Valerie and William to say that about the dad, but I mean,
All the protesters were
he's caused all this grief to everyone. And I'm not having it, we're getting him gone. King Charles needs to fucking go.
So guys, we have all been.
So that's what he was doing there that day, causing trouble, that English Muslim conversancy.
18 years old.
So it is true about King Charles. And he's not English anyway.
Migration into Britain and what's been happening to the native British people for decades. I would like to delve into the detail of some of the allegations, accusations, concerns that people are raising.
Started with the royal family after the war.
Multicultural
It was
Britain.
because of
Now,
that
this
after the
video
war.
popped up on my feed, and I believe these two gentlemen are native Englishmen who have converted to Islam. And what they had to say, I did find quite interesting. These
Yeah,
two
like King
gentlemen,
Charles, but he's not English.
that when it
He's
comes
fucking
to it,
German
the
anyway.
native British
Hitler.
people all brown and black people are the same.
Now, watch how they turn on you when it's your turn. It's like that, mate.
Listen to me. I've been white a long time, guys. Sikh guys, listen. A lot of them, they don't like you. They will never like you. Okay? Don't take that personally, by the way, because they don't like each other most of the time. White European men have killed tens of millions of their own kinds in world wars and battles throughout history.
Yeah.
They've killed hundreds of millions of other people around the world. They think nothing of going onto a continent and smudging out the whole population. So you putting on a Union Jack turban, it don't make you special, okay? They will deal with you the same way if they think that they have to. And if you want to dip your toe in the water and test it, I suggest you do this. Say stuff that doesn't align with what they're saying at the moment, just a little bit. Just say something like, well, not all immigrants are bad. Or not all Muslims are bad, some of them are nice. Just say stuff that doesn't align exactly with what they're saying, and then see how long it takes them to mention your skin colour, your turban, your beard, and everything else that they know or don't know about you. Just have a look at that, yeah? Anyway, you can take it, you can leave it. Who am I? I'm no one special. I'm just putting my 2 pence in, yeah? People, peace.
Like that. Now we warned you. You should have listened to me, Kenya. I think there was one big Sikh guy called, I think they call him Injection. He's a big lump. Yeah. I think he's one of their faces. You know. I know. There's a bit of a face in it. And even he was saying, what we buddying up with these guys for? Because eventually they're going to turn on us. Because I think he's been around a little bit and he kind of knows that it's going to play out at some point. You know
Well, I know Mr.
To be
Sikh,
fair,
yeah.
I've been
In
saying
Cholton.
exactly the same thing to
In
the
Cholton,
Hindus and
I know
the
Mr.
Sikhs,
Sikh.
the Indians and the Bangladeshis in the UK. That when it comes to it,
And
if
they
there
have
are
turned on the
riots or any
Sikh.
kind of civil war,
They
it's
did
not
turn on the
necessarily
Sikh.
focused on Muslims and Pakistanis, for example, or anyone else from
They
a Muslim
did turn on the
country.
Sikh.
Because for a lot of people, we
By
are all
not
the same.
telling
We
them
are just
about
brown
me.
people or
Some
black
fucking
people.
rang
So it's in the
down. I'm
interest
not
of
being
all
like,
of us to avoid any kind of civil war situation and work together. So this comment underneath my video says, this is the difference between the Sikh community and the Muslim community. We would not get that response from the Muslim community. Let the Sikhs be proof that even though 2 of them behave badly, doesn't mean the rest will be condemned. The reason it happens with Muslims is because too many bad things are done and the Muslim community in general do not condemn those things, so they brought it all on themselves.
Well, yeah.
Right, and I do
Yeah.
get that point that, of course, right
Yeah,
now,
with
generally
like
speaking,
grooming
the
gangs,
Sikh
none of the
community,
Muslim
I've
community
never
are
had
coming
issues
out
with
and
anyone
speaking.
from a
Well, not
Sikh
very
background
many.
ever. And
I'm not
I
coming
do
out
agree
condemning
that
it. They're
my
fucking
understanding is,
living
of
with
course, I
it.
don't know the stats, but my understanding is that the Sikh community, in comparison to some other communities out there, they are generally quite well behaved.
Usually,
However,
yeah.
I must say that when people from the Muslim community have condemned the bad apples, then people haven't taken that much notice of it. So I do believe that when the grooming gang scandal came out, then my understanding is there were around 500 mosques that did condemn the grooming gangs. And there have been other organizations and people that have condemned it. However, sadly, because the occurrence of the bad apples within the Muslim community and the Pakistani community is quite
Because of
high,
people like King Charles.
even
Can I
though
say
there
this
is
one, love?
condemnation,
It's not just the
people
people, it's people
have become
above.
desensitized.
It's the
to it,
people
sadly.
above that have
He
created
filmed
this
Henry suffering,
thing,
took
tensions
photos of
to
it,
every
and then of course
country,
was
every
able to
people.
trust his family to help him cover it up as well. Which again just comes back to the sort of ethnic tribalism, religious tribalism, as seen with
And
the
I've watched that.
with the
I've watched
Pakistani rape
these a
gangs,
lot. I
whereas
like
like, you
these
can
a lot.
depend on your
These are very,
family
very good.
to cover up for your
It
crimes.
is
It's
very
not
good people.
normal in
I like these
Britain
people.
or in much of Europe for that matter
And
to
I've
just
watched it,
cover
so I'm
up
not
if someone just
criticising any of
murders
these I'm
someone.
speaking.
Like if I called up my parents and said, I've just stabbed someone more or less in cold blood, can you help me?
I think they'd
I
be
don't think
saying
my
no.
parents would be thrilled.
I don't think they'd be
they would
helping
coming
you,
out
mate. I
and
think they'd be
disposing
phoning the
for nothing
police
the same
on
way
you.
That happened here.
If I
This
did that,
person says, just another example of changing our laws to appease people who
if I
came
run
to
my
Britain.
sister's house, just
Sickening.
murdered
Now, I
someone.
do agree that everything's
I think
becoming
my sister
very
would be like,
complicated,
right, well,
even
I'll
I
have
would
to
say
ring the
for
police,
people from
Caroline.
a migrant background, and I would prefer if we just stuck with Christianity, British values, and if people from an immigrant background had an issue with that, then they are free to leave.
Yeah, and that's what I've said,
definitely
love.
don't feel that
And
we
I
should
don't
be
think
bending the rules,
anybody
and I
should be
think we
allowed
have
to
bent
carry
the
a
rules too
knife.
much. And we can't
And-
bend it for everyone, guys. There are too many religions out there, too many cultures and people from different countries.
Yeah, and the
all
law
that
has
kind of
got
stuff
to be
that
the same for
surely we
everyone.
can't just keep bending the rules for every single different type of person
Yeah.
out there in the world.
Yeah.
That's absolutely ridiculous. There are 8 billion people, and this
And that
tiny
King
island
Charles's fault.
cannot cater for everyone. So we're gonna have to put our foot down. And I am someone from an immigrant background myself, but I welcome this because it's all getting a bit complicated,
Yeah.
even for me.
Yeah.
No special rules for Sikhs. No matter what your religion is, what you believe in, or what it believes in, you should not be allowed to carry a knife in public in this country. The special exception that allows Sikhs to carry a dangerous weapon, in my opinion, is not something.
And they could go around stabbing Muslims. It could have gone like, it could have been a Muslim.
Or a weapon
because the Sikhs and the Muslims don't like each other, like you say, very much.
But over the last few days,
And
social media posts,
hang on a minute, the Afghan guy that got stabbed, who stabbed him? There was not an English person.
The law, they say,
there was another
is
fucking
sacred to
immigrant.
them, and that Sikhs will not surrender this right. And I understand your feelings.
No one, like I say, no one speaks about that.
No matter what your religion believes in, British way of life and culture and law must be equal and paramount for everybody. And we said a long time ago in Britain that you cannot carry a knife in public. It's black and white. You cannot profess to be assimilated and integrated if you do not understand why British people don't like your right to carry a knife and how it comes above their safety. Secondly, it is total rubbish that Sikhs won't give up their ceremonial knives. Denmark, Sweden, France, Italy, the UAE have all banned carrying the kirpan in public, and Sikhs have complied willingly.
Good.
The death of Henry Novak is a turning point. It should be a turning point. The 18-year-old man was killed by a Sikh man carrying a 21-centimetre kirpan who drowned in his own blood. You know the story. Dingwall, the murderer, and his family lied to the police and tried to cover up the crime. His mother, by the way, has also been convicted and should be deported back to India, if you ask me.
This person says, I don't know about anyone else, but when I've seen them wearing those ceremonial knives, I've always felt scared and threatened by the sight of them. As a Scotsman, when the occasion arises to the wearing of a Highland dress, a traditional knife known as I can't pronounce that, is not allowed to be worn unless it is permanently fixed in its holder and cannot be removed, making it just a visual object only. Now, to be honest, I wasn't even aware that Sikhs are allowed to wear ceremonial knife for religious reasons. I wasn't aware of this. So for me, this is news. I've never noticed one.
You're Muslim, and you don't even
I've
know
never
that.
seen one. So this was all news to me. So now I know a lot of people are showing surprise
No, they're allowed
to
to
this.
do
Like
that. I don't think I'll be allowed to do any more Sikhs for
And
customers.
like I said,
Because
I would
don't know
like things to
if
be
they
fair
could
for
chop me up.
everybody. I would say the only religion that we should have concern for is Christianity. And if everyone else wants to follow the religion, whether that's Islam, Hinduism, Judaism, Sikhism, they can do that in the privacy of their home. And if they are religious towards religion, no problem, they could always consider going back to the heritage country.
Interesting that according to Professor Gurman Singh, Professor of Sociology and an expert in the field, over the last 30 years, there has been a trend towards younger people wearing a kirpan with pride in a desire to express their cultural identity. They see it as an act of resistance to being denied the ability otherwise to display their identity.
Because we already know the
regulations that come
I
from
already
that,
know a
of course, is
Sikh's
that we see
identity.
here
I don't need
expressly
to see a name.
second, third generation immigrants
No,
coming
that
out
is a
and
Sikh.
feeling like they're not able to be their authentic selves and not
I
able
mean, the
to
reason
express
why I
their
say
true
about the guy's
identity.
mother being Pakistan or Indian is because she
think,
looks
doesn't
very
it?
Pakistan or
This
Indian.
person says, I'm afraid of the trade deal with EU and Modi. He's trying to dump his people everywhere. They set up fake universities, millions will come. So this is again what I was trying to allude to the native British people in this country. Now, like I've said before, my parents were born in Pakistan. My grandparents and all ancestors before that are from northern India,
And
and
I don't have a
I've done
problem with that
a
one.
DNA test.
I
where
like you, but I
DNA
don't
is
have a
spread across the
problem
whole of
with
the
that.
Indian subcontinent. I even have Gujarati DNA and even Sri Lankan DNA. So I'm not someone out to get people from the Indian subcontinent at all, whether that's Pakistan, India, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, whatever. However, I am aware that Modi, the Indian Prime Minister, does do trade deals on the basis of allowing certain number of migrants from India into the Western countries. And that is causing a lot of issues in many countries. And I know that in America, sadly, there has been a visa scam that's been going on that's allowed mass migration from India to come to America. And people are not very happy, guys, with that.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of times people like to focus on just Muslims and Pakistanis because sadly in the UK we have not vetted the Muslims and Pakistanis properly. But in other countries, there are different categories of immigrants causing trouble. So in America, I believe it is the Indian Hindus. In Canada, I believe it is the
We've got the
Sikhs,
Africans.
actually, in
We
Canada.
have Africans doing, black
Interesting, this
Africans
person
doing
also
it.
brings it up.
We've
So
got,
look up
in
Pakistan
England,
and
my
Canada,
love,
some
we've got
of the Sikhs are the
everybody.
most dangerous.
Where
So yes,
everybody
there
else
is
is got cancer.
extremism by
Like
some
the
Sikhs
Jews.
as well. So if you
I
are in
don't
Canada,
care.
you
The
may be aware
Jews
of
could
this,
go back
that
to
an
Israel.
Indian Sikh
They
organisation
could go,
has
all of
been
these people can
classified
all go
as
back
a
to their own
terrorist
countries.
organisation. And sadly, they
I
have
can't go
assassinated
to any
people in
country
Canada
because this is
and
my
in other
country for
countries as well. And this is why
1,500
I
years
keep
worth.
speaking about vetting people properly.
I am not,
Now,
I'm not
And if you
mongrel,
wrongly
I'm
do
sorry
cross
to
me,
say, but
I'm gonna
people that
stab
are
I'm
mixed
going to kill you.
are
Like
mongrels.
that is the
They're a
you talk about
mongrel.
multiculturalism.
I
That
am
is
a
the
full
culture
fucking
in many
pedigree.
migrant communities in this country. It is one of violence. It is one of
And
retribution.
there is some,
It is
there's
one
quite a
of
few English that are
and
full
every
pedigrees,
aspect
but
of
there
it
is
on
some
display in
English
the
that
story.
ain't full
So it doesn't
pedigree
matter, it doesn't
English.
There's this narrative
They
that
are
goes
mixed
around, of
with
course, that Sikhs
Welsh and
are,
Scottish
one of the better,
and
Irish
Irish.
migrant groups, and
And that's what we call British.
They're not
Yeah, the
guilty
people
of mass
that are
child rape
British
gangs. No,
are
that's
mixed with
true. And
Irish,
it's not,
Scottish
I
and Welsh.
can't, in my own memory, remember a
Then you
story
are
like this
British,
happening in the
because you
past.
are to the
But nevertheless, it
British. Well,
shows you that
I'm
this
English.
poisonous culture
See,
has
I can't
penetrated,
go to
this
Ireland
community
and
as
start
much
saying
as anyone.
I am
now,
fucking
the reason why
Irish.
people have an issue with the Pakistanis in the UK is that Britain did not vet the Pakistani community properly. And I don't like using this term, but a lot of hillbillies ended up coming here. People who were not at all fit to come into a first world country. It seems that America has created similar issues for itself with the visa scams, predominantly done by the Indian Hindu community, I believe. And then Canada's done the same thing and not vetted the Sikh community properly, where they do have Sikh extremists there.
We've not done the same with the Sikh community,
It's
obviously.
genuinely terrible, and you can even hear in
And
the
England's the
background
worst one because we've not vetted
from the
anybody
family about racism
from
and
anywhere.
this, racism, that.
Doesn't
Even
matter.
as this horror is playing out in front of
I mean,
everyone,
I've actually
you can
said
hear
we
the
haven't
background
seen
as well,
anything
saying
happening
he's not
from
been stabbed.
Chinese, a
completely
fucking.
I mean, how can,
And I
how
did
can-
say the Sikhs the other
what-
day.
how
I
do
did
you
say how
expect
come
they
the
could
Sikhs and the
actually
Chinese
get
and the
away with
Japanese and that.
I don't know.
How come we don't see
How can you
any
have
sort
that
of
from the third
rapes
world?
and
You
murders?
aren't used to
Or what's going to happen
system
next? It's going to be a fucking
So when you have
Japanese.
good people and you
Well, I'll
have
tell
bad
you what,
people from
what's
all
going to happen next? It's
communities,
going to be a
all
Chinese or a
countries, all
Japanese
races,
person
all ethnicities.
murdering
The
a
problem
white
I have
person.
is
Yeah.
that we're not vetting
How about
people
that
properly.
one?
And even with mass migration happening predominantly from India into the UK.
I wonder if a
this is
Chinese
what I'm
and
concerned
fucking
about,
Japanese
the
are going to
Indians
murder
that
one of us
came
there.
to the UK a couple of decades ago seem to be quite high quality Indians, right? Sadly, the people that I see coming now, I can't say the same thing about them. And I know that we're all focused on Muslims and
I'm waiting for a Chinese or Japanese person to do Ching Chang Ching.
community. There are other issues that people
You
aren't looking at because they're so distracted looking over there. They're not looking at what's happening over here.
Do any of you have a brother?
I have two.
I've got
No.
brothers,
Can
I've
you
got
imagine
sisters.
sitting in the back of a police car and conspiring with him
No.
to cover up a murder that
No,
you just
my sister
committed,
wouldn't do
and
that
that just
for
being
me.
totally normal?
No, if I did,
No.
if I and my sister
And
said
also as
something
well,
like that,
the
she would say,
extra
I'm going to have to
detail
ring the
there of the
police.
fact that you thought you could get. I mean, obviously they didn't know that they were being recorded.
In fact,
but
my
that they
parents,
spoke
my
in
mother,
Punjabi as well
she
because they
phoned the police.
obviously
In
knew
fact, my
that the
sister,
police
they were
officers
panicked.
didn't
My
have to be
sister dumped me
fluent
months
in
before.
Punjabi, and
Not,
so
well,
it's
not
an
dumped
extra
me, but when
layer
I was on a
of
warrant a long time
multiculturalism
ago.
that allows
was
them
a lot
to
younger.
use the language
I'm not
barrier
saying it's right,
for their own
but
ends.
we all
in
make
all of
mistakes,
this.
whatever.
And that goes for
I
other
went to, I was at my
countries. There would be
sister's
some
and
African
I got,
countries and other
my sister
potentially
couldn't keep me
European
there
countries
because
as
I
well,
was on a
which is
warrant
allowing
from the
everyone and
police.
anyone to come
So
in.
And my
the
police,
Sikh-
my
the
sister was
Sikh
scared,
community,
she
right,
came,
because
the
this
police
is
were going to
something
come
as
run
well,
right through
you
her
know,
home because
there
of
was
that.
a particular part
And it wasn't
in
even
the,
for any,
in
it was
the
just for
court
something
write-ups
silly.
as well, where the judge expressly says, "Look, did you have no consideration for the optics of what this was going to do to your community?"
Well, that's the Norm Macdonald joke, isn't it? Of just like a dirty bomb over New York. The most horrifying thing about it would be the blowback against innocent Muslims. Just like, I'm sorry, no, actually, the worst thing is the 18-year-old boy that was murdered.
Yeah. And
Of course it is.
I will say it is, by comparison, rarer that you see the crime committed by Sikh communities to those of the Pakistanis, those of the African communities, etc., etc. I grant this in the name of honesty and transparency. But what I do need to point out is the fact that within this statement and the very way that it's written up, is the fact that we're very, very sorry for the loss of Henry and his family and all of this. This is absolutely terrible. Please don't take our Capans away, right? I mean, there's no wrestling with this statement from the Sikh community because, you know, obviously every time something happens to Henry, we just have some spokesman written on behalf of the British community to voice our concerns about such things. But the other thing as well is just the fact that there is no wrangling in here with the current state that the British find themselves in their own homeland. There is no ethnic concern for our plight, what we are going through, the very real danger that Brits feel on the streets every day. It's just a case of think about how this impacts us, and please don't use this to draw any conclusions that don't have us at the foreground of your concerns. And so that's why I just wanted to draw on your tweet, Charlie, which is that where you say we don't want to state, this actually comes after from not the whole community, but Digwa's family in particular. And as you say, we don't want a statement from the Digwa family. We want them on the plane back to a third world where they belong.
So my issue is the speed of migration, the quantity of migration, and the quality. Please, can our government vet people properly? Now, this comment is very interesting because I believe this person is a Sikh, him or herself, but is trying to make out that they are not. So the comment reads like this: all Sikhs organizations they grant this, priests and community are outraged by his actions, to be fair. Under Sikh law, he would now be put to death for taking the life of an innocent man. Sikhs call out wrong even if it's the own, so me personally, I have no issues with them. So this person is speaking as if they are not Sikh and they don't have any issue with Sikh people. Now, the thing is, I don't believe this person at all. I believe this person is a Sikh person pretending not to be Sikh. The reason is because other comments by this person.
If you do that, you've seen your religion. And to sin your religion,
another comment this person has put underneath my videos is in defense of Sikhs. Why target Sikhs? You can easily go into your kitchens. I suggest you get your facts right. It's legal for anyone, including Sikhs, to carry blah, 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 blah. It's interesting how you talk about Britain. Not once have you mentioned Sikhs, Hindus, and Buddhists. So the interesting thing is this person, although has a Muslim name, seems to be very defensive when it comes to Sikhs in particular. But for some reason, this person is pretending not to be Sikh. So this is, again, the issue that I have and I would like to caution everyone, if you're a native Brit, please, you should be aware of this by now, that there are people in India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, in the Indian subcontinent, they pretend to be someone that they are not. So if you are Hindu, you'll pretend to be a Muslim.
Well, the police should know
and you
that.
will write comments.
But they obviously don't know that.
Videos pretending to be a Muslim.
Well, because they got the fucking police in there, love.
Country, and that Islam is going to spread all around the world. Right? And you've got Muslims doing this pretending to be Hindus, you've got Hindus doing this pretending to be Muslims, and then Sikhs as well, potentially, it seems. So when people comment online and they're assuming an identity, that doesn't mean that it's them. Even like his mother looks Pakistan and each time I get death threats and someone is claiming that they're a Muslim, I do try to assess whether this is a genuine Muslim or not. Now, of course, any person that's turned up at my door is a genuine Muslim Pakistani, for example, who is a threat to me, naturally. But then there are those people that I've noticed online who are putting in a lot of effort to prove that they are Muslim through their display picture, their name, the comments that they're making, and it seems very, very fake. So just be cautious of that. That sadly, across the Indian subcontinent, which is sadly a third world place, I don't like saying this, but it is, the behaviors and mentality of a lot of these people, they do this kind of stuff. It's normal, it's common. It's quite uncivilized behavior, but they do this, they pretend to be each other. So if you criticize any community, any race,
that's like me being an English person, pretending that I'm fucking Irish.
A little bit defensive. So like I said, I personally never...
If I go to Ireland as an English person and pretend that I'm Irish, I'd probably get my head kicked in by the Irish. It's like me being a Mancunian, pretending that I'm a Scouser.
On my channel, like I said, that I am now expanding. For fairness sake,
it's like a Scouser, pretending that they're a Mancunian.
People will happen to all of us, whether you're Sikh,
Muslim, I mean, come on, we have riots. We're in England, we have riots, really, between each other.
We're all
in
part
Britain.
of the same problem. So because
we're
probably
the same as Pakistan and India, where we have riots between our
Hindus,
countries.
Sikhs,
Oh, we have had.
Christians, everyone,
Probably
Muslims
not as
from the
much.
Indian
I was
subcontinent,
going to say, we
so
probably don't have as
Pakistan,
many
India,
riots now
Bangladesh,
with
Sri Lanka, etc.
like the scouts.
Thank
The
you guys
Manx
for
probably
listening.
don't
Please
nowadays
do not forget
because
to
of what's going
subscribe,
on.
like, comment and share.
But
Consider joining us
back
here
then,
if you can.
back then, Liverpool and Man United used to play together, and it used to be all it used to be all hell's break loose with football, especially the football stuff. And back then, Manchester United, and well, when it was back in Moss Side, and when City used to play, fucking hell, things used to erupt. And most people that support Manchester, well, most back then, what would support Manchester United back then and Manchester City back then would be mostly what you'd think would be Mancunians. You know, I mean, yeah. So the Manx, you know, we can have a good. I mean, when we went to war with fucking Ireland, we've been to war with fucking Spain. And Wales, we went to fucking war with fucking Scotland. The English and the Scottish, the English and the Welsh, the English and the Irish. I mean, we don't, like I say, we don't hear them things anymore as much. You know, back there, like, you know, the fucking Manx and the Scousers. The Manx, you know, with the fucking Scousers, we all go fucking Scousers. Yeah. So, in a way, Pakistan and India are probably a bit like England doing that, really. Well, thank you very much from Caroline Poynton in Manchester Bury.